What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to a day in the life of JB Bless, a channel about nothing, but it's about something. I'm back with another dating story. This one is so for if this is your first video, let me give you some backstory. I was married for 20 years, divorced. I've been divorced going on maybe a little bit over 6 years, almost seven. So when I started dating a year after separation, I went on a lot of different dating sites, and from Plenty of Fish to Black People Meet, OK Cupid, you name it. I mean, a lot of these sites you will see the same people over and over again. Went on a lot of dates, met a lot of nice women. Some we end up going out for a while. Some it was a one date thing. Some it was just phone conversations. We know how it go when you're out here dating. And let me tell you this: if you're out here dating, you already know. If you got a good thing, you better keep it. You better work your your magic and keep it going. Stay faithful. Do all the things you need to do because dating out here is something different. It'll drive you crazy. Well, anyway, this particular time, I'm on the site and I get a inbox. So when I get the inbox, I see it's an older woman. She probably was like 59, 60, something like that. Nice looking, really nice looking. She left me a message. How are you? Blah blah blah, whatever. So we chatted back and forth, and maybe after 2 weeks, we decided to meet up. I think she stayed maybe like 45 minutes away from me. So we had never seen each other before, but about after 2 weeks, we decided to go ahead and meet up for a date. So we met at a PF Chang. It was a PF Chang, real nice one, out at the mall. So I'm there, I'm waiting. I like to get somewhere. If I'm going on a date, I usually get there early so I can peep out the scene, see what's going on, check out the menu, see what I'm gonna eat, whatever. Just see what's going on. Get comfortable first. I mean, if you're comfortable already in the environment, it's less nerves, and all that other stuff. You feel a little bit more comfortable. The person is coming in to your aura already. So anyway, I get there early, and she was probably about 25 minutes late, and she text me, let me know she was outside. So being a gentleman, I walk out to greet her, open the door. So when I see her, she looks better than the picture she had up. So I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, I can do this. Older woman, but I could do this. And they took us to our seats, sat there. We ordered, had first drink, and sat there, ate, good conversation, and I could see the way she was looking at me. It was like dessert was already set out, and she was just waiting. So we in the booth, right? You know how you got the U-shaped booth, really is meant for like, I guess, 5 or 6 people to sit in, but it was just us. So by the time we halfway through the meal, almost done, she says, "Do you mind if I scoot over next to you?" I'm like, "No problem." which is I'm still like what's going on? She moves closer to me, sit there for another 5 minutes. She says, "Do you mind if I kiss you? I want to, know what your lips feel like." So I'm like, man, you know, I ain't at the time. I'm not young, but I'm still like, you a cougar or something? What you doing? You horny? What's going down? So anyway, we kiss or whatever. She steady smiling, rubbing my leg, this is and that, talking. Uh, so the night goes on. We still sitting there talking. After a while, we been there. Excuse me, maybe 3 hours. We get ready to leave. I walk her to the door, and no, I walk her to her car. We talk about the next time we're gonna see each other, and that was the end of the date. Now, to give you some information on her, she had a name that was an old person's name. A name that you don't hear nowadays, a name you ain't heard unless you talking to your great auntie or, your grandmama. And I didn't want to, I'm not going to say her name, but it was an old name. It was a name that don't nobody had nowadays. Anyway, she also told me her husband had passed. She also told me that she started a company, and the company was making a lot of money, and the company was tied to a very, very prominent movie director that owns his own studios. And she was saying that her company handles all the makeup for all his movies and this, and that, or whatever. So I'm like, wow, she's really established. She's doing her thing or whatever. She also mentioned that due to some unforeseen the unforeseen death of her husband, she came into a lot of money uh, because she had to sue the company that had something to do with his death. And she became a millionaire overnight. Okay, I've never been the one to chase nobody for money or go after somebody for money, but I'm just telling you this as a basis for later on in the story. So we talk, and maybe maybe about 3 weeks later, she ended up coming to the house. She wanted to, come and chill or whatever. So she comes down, we chill on the couch or whatever, watch a movie, and I don't even know if we had something to drink or not. But a couple of hours in, it's getting late. We sitting on the couch. It starts to get hot and heavy. A lot of kissing, touching, and this, and that. So all of a sudden she gets up. She's like, oh, you have to excuse me. This is not how I don't do stuff like this, and, I apologize. As a grown woman, I should be able to control myself, this, and that. And I'm like, no apologies needed. We both grown. If that's how you feel, that's how you feel. So that night, she ends up going home. And I think maybe the next weekend, she comes by again. And at a certain point of the night, I'm like, we could head up to my room, sit there and relax, watch TV. We go up to the room, sitting there watching TV, and maybe an hour into watching TV, she grabs my hand. She wants me to caress her. Now, when I get to caressing her, she puts she had on like a what you call it, a tank top, but it was a shirt over it. She had took her shirt off, and she wanted me to rub the side of her. But the side that I'm rubbing, because I'm not touching the breast, but I'm rubbing a scar that she must have had surgery or something on. And when I'm rubbing the scar, I'm like, why would you want me to rub on your scar? In my mind, as a man, I'm like, that's not attractive. And then I'm wondering, like, did you have surgery and they put the nipple in the wrong spot, or what's going on? Did they move the nerve to the scar? So I'm rubbing the scar, and it's not turning me on. But her, she moaning and everything. I'm like, wow, what I done got myself into. So um, that night, we end up going there. And as we go in there, everything is going good. This is my first time with an older woman. So I'm like, okay, no difference. It was just, if y'all attracted to each other or, whatever you want to say. But what ended up happening was in the middle of it, I'm on top and we getting it in. I mean, we going heavy. All of a sudden, she thrust her hips up in the air like, so I look, so I instantly, like, what the hell was that? I mean, full fledged, like she was pushing up off the bed. So it kind of threw me off, like, what? Like, is your hip hurting? Is it, I ain't no small guy, but damn, your hip about to pop out of place or something? You had hip surgery? So, that go down. I think I'm gonna move tape when the sun starting to come out. That go down that night, and I was kind of like in the spot where I'm like, what is going on? So anyway, she stayed the night. The next day she goes home, and trying to find somewhere with some shade without being up on people. So we end up still kicking it. And I took that, as just, okay, maybe that was a one-time thing with her thrusting her hip up like, So we end up hanging out more and more. And I let her know that, I was still dating. We was both on the website, And I said, as time goes on, we'll see what's what. So we end up kicking it a couple of more times, going out to eat, this is that. Now, mind you, I always had a rule when I was dating. By the third date, I would see if a woman would even reach in her purse to pretend, or even, even if she was sincerely getting ready to pay for the bill, just to see. Because you have a lot of women, not a lot, but you have some women that'll be on dating sites, and other women have told me this that was on the dating site, that they friends are on there just for free meals and free drinks. And they'll go out with just about any guy just to eat and drink, and then that's it. They won't talk to the guy again. But my thing is, if we on about a third date, I don't mind as a man paying for the meal, but at the same time, it's nice to be treated. We live in an era where it's good, it's fair for a woman to pay for a meal just like it is for a man. We say we equal. So by the third date, a lot of times I'll look to see what's going on. So by the third date, I'm thinking to myself, you just told me you a millionaire. I don't know how true it is, and your money is not my money. I'm not counting it. But what I am saying to you is, if that's the case, you should be able to reach in your pocket and pay for a $70, $80 bill, $100 bill with no problem. You know what I'm saying? If the bills are $75 or $100. So that didn't happen. But I didn't get upset. She cool people, so we continued hanging. So the previous year, I had been to Vegas for my birthday, and I went by myself. Had no problem. I enjoy myself. I don't mind traveling just by myself. I mean, now I'm engaged, getting married next month. But when I was single, I didn't care about going out of town. I went to New Orleans by myself. I went to Vegas by myself. I've driven from here to California by myself. So that's not an issue with me. So I was telling her about this trip that I had set up to go to Vegas. And she kind of insisted, hold on, y'all. Something going on with my video. she insisted that she wanted to go. So I told her, well, I already set my, got my ticket and the room, you know, and we were still at the point where we were just talking. So I said, I got my ticket and I got my room. So all you would do is have to pay for your flight. Now, mind you, I'm not poor, but I'm not rich. So when I fly Spirit. Y'all say what y'all want to. Call them the ghetto airlines. Call them, the tight seats. Call them, they hood, this and that. But I fly Spirit. And I don't do no, people say, oh, they charge so much for check a bag. I don't check a bag. When I pack my clothes in a backpack, or I got a soft briefcase that all my clothes, I roll them up, put them in there. They got irons and ironing boards in the room. And then I'll have, because I always buy me one pair of brand new shoes before I go on the trip. And I had the flip flops, which 9 times out of 10, if I'm going on a trip, I buy a brand new pair of J's and flip flops to match or whatever. And so my trips are easy. I play as less as I possibly can to get there, so I can spend more money when I get there. That's just me. So anyway, she's like, oh yeah, okay. So I'm like, yeah, I'm flying Spirit. She's like, oh, I've flown Spirit. I usually fly Delta. I usually fly either private plane or Delta. So I'm like, okay. I said, well, I fly Spirit. If I'm going outside the country, of course, a lot of times I will fly Delta. And I went to Costa Rica, that's what I flew Delta. So I tell her what seat I'm getting, where my seat is. So she goes on the Spirit airline, she buys her ticket, she gets the seat next to me. And the closer the trip is coming, the more I'm seeing like, this is not for me. It's not like she was a bad person. It was just like she wanted more than I was willing to give at that point, and it was like some things that weren't adding up on her end. Things that she had said. But it just wasn't adding up. Something wasn't properly right. So we end up the night before we were headed to Vegas. I stayed at her house because her house was closer to the airport. So it was just like a jump in an Uber, go to the airport, didn't have to pay for parking. So I'm at her apartment, and I'm laying on the floor. She like, oh, you can get in the bed. And I didn't want to get in the bed because I know if I got in the bed, what she was going to want to do. So I'm trying to keep it calm. Like, I'm going to sit right here, lay right here on this floor, because I do not feel like lifting, like her hip going out. So she goes in her drawer. She lays across her bed, feet up in the air, and she kind of laughing. And she like, guess what I got? So I look over. She pulls out the drawer a box of condoms that are the box that you buy from, not from the store, with the 3 condoms in it. I'm talking about, she pulled out a box of Magnums, the kind that you get from Sam's Club. I'm talking about the mega box. probably 60 something condoms in the box. So I kind of looked in my mind. I'm like, oh, you ready to get it in, get it in. This is what you ready to every day you want me to knock you down. And you want to with your hip. So anyway, uh, laid on the floor after a while. It's almost getting ready time to leave, maybe an hour or two before. Went and sat on the couch, And I just wasn't, at this point, I wasn't feeling it. And I was like, what did I get myself into? So anyway, we leave that morning, go get on the flight. Usually when I go to Vegas, I leave on like the 7 a.m. flight. The sooner I get there, the sooner we can start, getting it in. And we get to the airport, and you know how you go in the airport and you got to go around the lines and you go through show your ID, your ticket, they scan it. Then you got to take all your stuff off, your shoes, jewelry, all that, put it in the thing, let them scan it, then you go through the scanner, blah, blah, blah. We all have been there if you travel. So she's like, oh my God, I'm not used to this. When I fly Delta, I'm, I guess VIP, they go through, they don't have to do a search or whatever. This is what she's telling me. So I'm like, oh, okay. I say, this Spirit, this is the regular airlines. So we go through the little checkpoint, stop. Now, mind you, this is not, when I say there's a difference between somebody that's 60 or 59 or 62 or whatever, and they're mobile. They move. There's nothing, nothing old about them. You wouldn't even know that's, they age, because black don't crack. She's one of them black don't crack. You don't think she's her age. Beautiful woman. Carries herself like a woman.